Okay, so imagine just barely missing out on winning a prestigious tournament for 2 years and then finally having a great chance, only to have your big brother, who happens to be the greatest ever, drop down a weight class for the occasion.
Nope.
Okay, so when it comes to arm wrestling, everybody knows about Bill Brzenk. He is a legend in the sport and the greatest of all time, an icon, a role model, and not to forget, he has a career that spans over decades behind him. And if you know your arm wrestling history well, you should also know about this guy right here, little brother Bill Brzenk. But chances are, if you're new to arm wrestling, that you never heard of the guy. And that is why I dedicate this video to him, to remind people about a guy overshadowed by his own brother's achievements. Which is a shame, since he is such a decorated and amazing arm wrestler in his own right. As a matter of fact, Bill used to be one of the greatest arm wrestlers during the 90s, having won national titles, world titles, and the 1994 Golden Bear. He just missed out on the Yukon Jack though, but we will come to that in a minute. The 90s was an interesting time in arm wrestling history. You know, the hype from the Sylvester Stallone movie Over the Top was a short-lasting one. The interest, the excitement and attendance of the sport started declining, and so did the prize money with some organizations, most notably the WPAA. But that doesn't mean that the era wasn't full-packed of legendary arm wrestlers, a lot of whom are still active and successful today. And although Bill Brzenk sure were successful back then, he is nowhere to be found today. Sure, he would be old today, but he is still younger than John, and he still shows the youngsters how it's done. Anyway, let's talk about Yukon Jack. Remember what I said about the WPAA and arm wrestling in general started declining after the hype of Over the Top began to fade? Well, as prize money for the athletes decreased within the WPAA, the Yukon Jack contest, being sponsored by a heavy-hitting Canadian whiskey brand, came in precisely at the right time and soon became one of the biggest arm wrestling events there was at the time. In that contest, there were the Brzenk brothers, initially competing in different weight classes. By the time of the 1995 edition of the contest, John had won 4 times in the heavyweight division, and Bill had secured the 2nd place in the middleweight division, just falling behind Johnny Walker in 93 and 94. 95 seemed to be the year for the younger brother Bill, if it weren't for one slight obstacle, and that was bigger brother John. You see, for the 95 edition of the contest, John decided to cut some weight and drop down into the middleweight division. Bill managed to defeat Lee Holland in an amazing display of quality arm wrestling, but now it was time for the final, and of course, that is where Big Brother was waiting. And in the end, though giving a valiant effort, he once again ended up in 2nd place. It's rare that the strength of a power mullet fizzles, but it does happen from time to time. Imagine the situation, fighting several years for a title, and once the field was wide open, Big Brother steps down a weight class and put you in your place. You can of course see some disappointment in Bill's eyes, but still brotherly love shines through. They used to train every week together, and I know that John was nothing short of a hero for Bill, and John admits that Bill managed to defeat him during training just recently before the contest. And it's also important to note that Johnny Walker was only out of the competition because of John, so it's possible that he could have stopped Bill in 95 as well. And I'm very sure that there weren't any hard feelings going around, and I'm even more sure that the brothers were happy to have each other around as rivals and companions in the amazing sport of arm wrestling, even though Bill fell behind. And falling behind Big Brother would not only be something that occurred during Yukon Jack, it would be something that pretty much defined Bill as an arm wrestler during his whole career. Few people remember Bill for his own achievements, but rather for the fact that he wasn't as good as his brother, and that is a shame. I think he deserves a lot more credit for his own achievements than what is given to him, and I hope that this short video can bring some light to this 90s arm wrestler and for a moment put him back on the map of arm wrestling. He is, after all, one of the greatest of all time. And while Jon would continue to dominate the sport for many years to come, Bill's successes lies mainly in the 90s, and eventually he would lose interest in the sport of arm wrestling and disappear from the scene completely. Oh, and before I end this video, I just want to mention that Bill Brzenk was also a very successful BMX racer, competing for the Robinson racing team, and according to some, he is amongst top 10 ever from Utah. That is cool, you know, being successful in both arm wrestling and BMX racing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for future content. Also, make sure to check out my Instagram page, also called Armsport Gamer. Hopefully, it will grow alongside my YouTube channel. I am the Armsport Gamer. Until next time.